Dan Orlovsky called it an ego game. And by the fact that this is a big ego game, not a revenge game for Stefon Diggs, to prove he's still that guy and that he wanted out of Buffalo, and this is it. If I'm Josh Allen, why are you laughing?
No, I'm just laughing because, like, in girl terms, it'd be like if you go to the same wedding and you like, that is fun.
Go on.
You like, no, like you're like, I want to look hotter. If I'm being honest, if this is a safe space, this is a trust tree, you'd be like, I want to look better than the other person.
This is the Buffalo Plus Podcast, brought to you by Connors and Ferris.
All right, hello, and welcome to the...
Another hot start.
I was jamming out to the waiting music. All right, Hello, and welcome to the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel, presented by Connors and Ferris. Our podcast today, Mike Catalana, Dan Fates. I am Jenna Cottrell. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and share. We always appreciate it. Yes. Hello, gentlemen. We are talking Bills, Texans, big AFC matchup. Buffalo going against Stefon Diggs. And we've talked a lot all week about Diggs and Allen and all that stuff. We're going to actually get into the player that he is with this Texan team, talk about the other weapons that they have, what we see in CJ Stroud, the Bills' injuries, how that impacts them, and then credit to me. So we'll have some fun tonight. So let's start first with...
I want to talk more about Diggs and Allen and their relationship.
That hasn't been talked about enough, honestly.
I think we need to get Jeremy Fowler in here to really kind of provide the insight that we are all desperately needing, because he provided so much.
He did an article.
Yeah.
I said that article to me is for the people around the country who have not been paying a weekly attention, monthly, whatever you want to say, to Diggs and Allen. I think it was a pretty good synopsis of the way it's gone. We've talked about all this stuff multiple times. I mean, the quotes like, thought he was a good player, really good player.
A little bit of a diva.
Diva. Yeah. I mean, we knew all that. We talked to you guys about all that stuff.
Yep.
We knew who he was and where he was. If you are in Topeka, Kansas, or you're in Biloxi, Mississippi, you're
Shout
like,
out Topeka, Kansas.
Oh, I'm trying to pick places that you're like, oh, that's right, Diggs and Allen and what was going on. I don't know if everybody pays attention to it as much as obviously was in Western New York.
Yeah, no, clearly they don't. That's why they did the overview of the story and all that stuff. But we've talked a lot about it. We've asked Josh Allen a lot about it. We've asked Stefon Diggs about it. We've asked Sean McDermott about it. So let's instead talk about on the field what we have seen from Stefon Diggs so far this season as he settles in with a Houston team that has expectations and a second-year quarterback that has played well.
I think at this point of his career, he's in the spot that makes him the most dangerous as a player. As a number 2, running underneath, catching a decent amount of balls, getting in the end zone, doing different things for them, and not being expected to be a number 1 guy. It's Nico Collins. It's kind of unquestioned. He's their number 1 guy.
Yeah.
I think Diggs, whether he would ever want to say it or not, is a really good second option as a wide receiver.
On that team.
Yes.
I think he would still be, without a doubt,
the one on the Bills.
He'd be the number 1 on the Bills. Yeah. He would still to this day, make the Bills a better offense if he was on the team. I know that when Brandon Beane said that during the offseason, when he said, right now we're not a better team without Stefon Diggs, it's going to take some time. They've embraced the everybody eats philosophy and mantra, but they're still missing a go-to guy, which is what Stefon Diggs is. He may not be that in Houston. Mm-hmm. He was that with the Bills. He would be that right now if he was still here.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. I think it's interesting. Oh, crap.
Yeah, but that's my line. But you go ahead, take the fine.
I do think it is. Thank you. Nailed it. I do think it is something that it's a guy that, oh my God, here's a guy, but
here's a
guy. No, what I was going to say is Diggs has been that alpha guy, that number 1 guy, unquestioned guy in terms of what he can add. And now seeing him be in a different role is, I'm sure for him, it's probably been an adjustment. He's obviously with a new team and there's things that come with that as well. But for him to be kind of settled into a definitely not wide receiver 1 role. I don't know, Mike. It's a 1-year deal as well, so it kind of changes things up in terms of the dynamic. But that, I would imagine, for him might have been a little bit humbling.
Oh, I think Diggs still thinks of himself as number 1.
Without a doubt.
Yeah. And I think he's going to want to put up numbers, and he's going to want to get that deal.
And be on his best behavior.
Oh, yeah. That I don't worry about that at all in a year in Houston. He was fine for most of his time in Buffalo. When it started to go, it was not great. But for 1 year on this contract, to Jenna's point, it got redone.
Yeah.
It ends this year. He needs to put up numbers that maybe he's not getting a blockbuster deal, but he'll believe he can still get paid a lot.
When I say like it's a new role for him, obviously I think Diggs thinks of himself as a number 1 wide receiver. But I'm saying CJ Stroud, though, is looking for Nico Collins.
That's right.
So the reality of the situation is he is not the first guy that you are going to look at. And I think that is an adjustment. And that is something that has probably been something for him that he has had to kind of settle into.
Before we get to talking about the rest of the Texans, because we mentioned Diggs, and Diggs is gone as a number 1. The Bills are in the news a lot right now about Davante Adams and making a trade. So I'll borderline host adjacent here and ask, what do you think about them making a move for Davante Adams?
I would love to make the move. I think he would open up so many more things offensively. I think he is still, even at his age, a gravity player, meaning that defenses have to give attention to one guy. I think it would open up things for Dalton Kincaid, who has been struggling to find space and find open targets and yards after the catch. I believe wholeheartedly that the salary cap isn't real and they could make it work. I don't think Bean does it.
I think it depends on what the Bills see in terms of the NFL right now. Like, first of all, for the deal for Davante Adams, like his contract would be significant, and cap room wise, you would have to do some finagling. That is not to say that you could not do that, do something in terms of draft picks or whatever. But the only thing I could see them trading for Davante Adams is if they look around the NFL and they're like, the Chiefs are pretty gettable. Like, some of these teams that we thought were really going to be good might not be that good. So maybe this is more of an opportunity than we were expecting to be at this moment. And maybe we can kind of make a run in a way that we didn't think.
I think if you just take Davante Adams, put him on the Bills, he's exactly what Dan said. He's a gravity player that can still get down the field, make plays. I think he'd be great. But you do build a team, and his contract and his age become factors going forward. So it's one, you say, do we take this shot here? Kind of thing they did with Von Miller when they brought Von in. At a certain age, you bring that player in, and then you are paying him, and they're paying him a lot. So at the moment, yeah, he'd be the unquestioned number 1, and I think he would really help the team. And to Jenna's point, if you thought, man, you bring Davante Adams in, we're winning the Super Bowl. If they really believe that, I think you would make the move and deal with it later. I just don't know if they think that.
I don't think they think that. And I also don't think that just after 4 games, when they have this everybody eats philosophy where they had all off season, that if they wanted to get a guy,
Here's a guy.
They could have. And they could have made a move and gotten a number 1 guy during the offseason. They didn't. I don't think after 4 games, all of a sudden Brandon Beane blows up his plan that he had for this season of a transition year, all of a sudden to make this splash move. I truly believe that 100% Beane is in on calls. I think he's in on a lot of players.
I feel like you have to be. When people are like, they made a call on Davante Adams. They should. You should be calling about everyone.
They called about Christian McCaffrey. They've called about all these other things. Yeah, believe it or not, they did. Somebody here reported it.
Okay, but my thing is, the Chiefs look very gettable.
Yeah.
This season. The Texans, okay. The Steelers.
I don't know if the Chiefs look gettable.
Oh, the Chiefs are gettable.
I think if you're going to talk about a year where they are gettable, I would say it's definitely this year.
I think their defense is elite.
Their defense is
very good, but you look on offense and Rashee Rice just being added to the IR. Like, you have the Jets, which just lost to the Broncos.
Yeah.
You have the Colts. You have the Ravens that looked really good, but they have looked human at moments, and they're 2-2.
Hey, let me tell you
Chargers,
something.
Raiders, like
You want a guy out of the Raiders?
the Bengals. I mean, they're not even in the picture.
Can I have Max Crosby instead?
Oh,
Yeah.
he's really
How about
freaking
anybody?
good.
How about any defensive lineman?
He's
Yeah.
really I'm just saying, I get what you're saying totally. Like, Bean went into this season knowing that they didn't have a number one guy and never addressed it. I'm just saying where they're at and where the chips have fallen, like the Dolphins are a mess. These are teams that you expected to be juggernauts in contention down the season, late on. And you're like, wait, maybe there is way more of an opportunity. And maybe because of that, you change your outlook on this year.
Yeah. I would also say this is not a surprise around the NFL about Devontae Adams.
Right.
You could see it coming. Here's what I think. I think the Raiders are going to want to make a trade. And I think the Jets have been a odd organization. Everybody is getting on the lifeboat here. The GM's in trouble. The head coach is in trouble. The quarterback thinks he runs the team and runs the NFL. They need to make moves. They will spend more draft capital than I think anybody else.
But see, like, and the Saints are also involved, and they're a team that I think finds themselves over their skis, where they may be better than you think. They may be better than they thought they were going to be. So where you said, like, hey, how the chips have fallen, how these first 4 games have gone, maybe now we make the move because we're ahead of where we thought we would be in this rebuild. And Rashid Shaheed, maybe he's also going to be a great number 2. And if we put some guy with him, I don't think the Bills are there. I don't think that this 3-1 start is a surprise to them. And looking around the rest of the league, I don't see it as, oh, everything's opened up, in my opinion.
Let me tell you.
I feel like that's crazy to think that you don't, like, a lot of teams are bad. Like, the Bengals are bad.
I think it's too early to say teams are bad.
Oh, no, some teams are bad.
Some teams are bad.
Miami's bad.
Yeah, Miami was never a problem to begin with.
Wait a minute. They beat Miami on the last day of the season last year to win the division.
They beat them 12 of the last 13 times.
I know they own the Dolphins. I'm saying as they come back this year, they're bad. The Bengals have had their struggles. Baltimore is good. I think Baltimore right now, I mean, against the Bills, look like the best team right there with the Chiefs.
Baltimore, Houston, I'm not done with the Bengals yet. I still don't think that's done.
I get, like, they can turn around, but at the same point, what we have seen so far has been bad. It takes a lot.
That's short-sightedness, I think.
I think it takes a lot, though, for a team to turn things around, especially when you're already in the hole and you're 1-3.
I would say
I'm just saying, if a team is going to pull themselves out, it could be the Bengals. But at the same moment, you undoubtedly know that they are in a hole.
Let's talk about this part of it. The Bills made a transition from Diggs to get a high-priced player at wide receiver off the roster. To turn right around, and I believe when you look at that contract for Devontae Adams, it's $30+ million for the next 2 years.
It would get restructured. It would have to.
It would have to.
I mean, any team that would give up a second-round pick would have to.
And now you're restructuring on a deal for a guy who's going to be 33 and 34 in that deal. And so is that the guy they would go after? Is there less draft capital? I'm trying to remember. It was early in here. I want to see the comment. Was it Kevin, maybe? I'm sorry. Or no, Michael Z, I believe, said.
How'd you forget that name?
I know. What about Amari Cooper? I'd take Amari Cooper.
Younger. You feel like Amari Cooper is like Jerry Rice's age.
The guy puts up numbers. He always has. Doesn't appear to ever cause any problems. And the way his contract was structured this year, it's at a low number.
Yeah.
And the Browns are a dumpster fire again.
Yes.
So that's the kind of player.
be
And then we've said this, Dan, you've said it too, Jenna. In the offseason, they're looking for another wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 1,000%.
Now, they would much rather get the young guy, ascending player,
of course,
that fits that mold than to go with Keon and Shakir and to be your 3 receivers.
And Jenna, to your point, I agree that I would like the move. It's just for different reasons. If you make the move, it's because you were looking for number 1, didn't find the number 1. Now he's available. That's one thing. I just don't think that. I know you're saying like they're bad teams. I don't think it's time yet to say in the first week of October, these guys are bad, these guys are good. Now we push our chips.
I'm not saying like some teams are awful. I'm saying it looks more gettable than you were expecting. It looks more open than you thought.
It's October. It's not. We're just in October.
I don't know. Look, I just think that things opened up in ways that you were not expecting. So why can't it be both? Why can't it be, hey, these games look a lot more like
well, that's what I'm saying. I agree with you. It's just for different reasons. You're saying because things have opened up. I'm saying it's because they look at their organization as a whole.
Yeah, and they want someone that
Two things can be true.
I literally said it's both.
Right. I'm agreeing with you. Why are you snapping at me?
Because you're telling me that I'm not.
I can disagree with your point, but I can also say
Hey, kids, do I have to pull this car over?
Dad?
So do you think the Bengals are good?
I think it's too early to say they're bad.
They got bad karma in that place. That whole stuff that happened with Chase and T. Higgins is going to be out at the end of the year. And I don't know about
there are distractions for sure.
Quarterbacks, injuries, and the defense looks terrible.
Okay.
And I think I think they're going to be okay and figure it out.
Okay.
Is there a spot where you're like, okay, like halfway through the season, would you feel more comfortable? Halloween. Okay. That's fair. I get it.
Well, we're in October, so we're getting there.
All right. So Man of War with a super tip. Thank you. Good to see you three together. Oh,
he also
twice.
Man of War said I'll be coming to the
From
Bills
Toronto.
game against the Titans. Would love to get a selfie with one of you guys. Well, that's nice of you to say.
Yeah, if you see us.
Yeah, before the game, we should be outside doing live shots.
Yeah.
And
TV then
live shots.
Shane Russell. Sorry, Dan, I jinxed MVS by saying he was finally going to get his deep ball last week.
Yeah, nothing went right that last week.
Yeah, that's fair.
Mikey B says Jenna just got her hair done. Looks great.
I did. Thank you. Oh, also shout out my sister. She's watching.
Oh.
Hi. Hello. Okay. Let's talk a little bit more about just the weapons that the Texans do have.
Yeah.
Also, I do want to start CJ Stroud. What do you make of him, Mike? Because he came out no expectations and had this phenomenal rookie season. Then the expectations grow for him. He has great weapons. The Texans have been good this season, but go ahead.
I like CJ Stroud as a quarterback. I think he was great last year.
No, you don't.
My issue was in the offseason, I start reading lists around the league. Top 5 quarterbacks in the league. It's like Mahomes, Allen, Love, and Stroud. Love had 6 good games. Stroud was a rookie with low expectations. I do not like when you take small sample sizes and try to turn them into bigger things than they are.
That's literally all example, TikTok.
Nico Collins.
He's describing First Take.
Nico Collins is...
It's like, how do they put a show together in July?
But isn't it okay to say he has been tremendous? Let's see where he is in a year where the defenses adjust. And when you look at the way the Texans have been played with pretty good group of skill position players.
Yeah.
With Diggs, Collins, and Tank Dell when he's out there on the field.
Tank's missed time and so is Mixon.
Yeah.
Yes, that has hurt them a little bit. But I watch them offensively, and he's had to adjust. Deep safeties, be patient, go underneath. Yeah. They have been good, not great. They look like they were ascending to great offense. They got blown out in one game, and they have been in struggles to win. They couldn't put Chicago away. I'm not saying they may very well beat the Bills on Sunday. I'm not saying they can't. I'm saying it's a natural progression to have some regression or at least adjustment.
Yeah.
This kid is bright and he's composed. If he handles that well and they get Mixon healthy, then that offense maybe picks up a little bit more. Right now it's been, Collins is 100 yards ahead of everybody in pass catching, but they're not like loading up the scoreboard. They're not blowing teams out. They're not putting teams away. They barely beat Jacksonville.
Had to go on
and they could not put away. The Bears were bad in that game, and they couldn't put them away. That's what I expected if Houston's going to take that step. They're probably still going to win that division, but if you want to see him become that guy, it might take a little longer.
I love this because this is a conversation that Mike has with us.
Usually with myself, and then I include them.
Or he'll get mad about something somebody else said and then look at us like we said it. Like we put him in the top 5.
You are Hall of Fame at that as well.
Damn right.
And so it's one of those things where it's like, can you believe this person tweeted this? Like, I didn't tweet it. Like, I have enough of my own dumb tweets to worry about.
Well, speaking of which, someone just tweeted, hey, Otani, is getting ready for the next round
Yeah.
of the playoffs, Dan.
That's just uncalled for.
I was gonna say, that was
just
wow.
ricochet shots of Otani.
Yeah,
I do want to get that tweet on a t-shirt. Like
yeah,
that.
you
that
should.
is,
That is pretty good.
Yeah, and Mike, to your point about the top five quarterbacks, there's 4, and then it's a rotating door week to week of who's 5. That's how the NFL works. There's 4 quarterbacks. It's Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, and Lamar, and then it rotates on a week to week basis. Who's the top 5?
I'd put Lamar ahead of Burrow right now.
But yes, I see what Dan's talking about. Like the national media narrative is that
Usually
those
it's
guys.
yeah. Usually it's Justin Herbert all the time. At least that can take a break for a while.
That's actually fair. That is
or
that
it
is
was
tired.
Trevor Lawrence and all these
But
guys.
I'll say this to Houston's defense, because sometimes we are so zoned in on the Bills and we only focus on that and what's going on here. I think if you were to look out and say the Houston Texans have lost Tank Dell, have been without Joe Mixon for 3 games, Laramie Tunsil is on record pace for amount of false starts and holdings, and they're still 3-1. They're finding ways to win. That's what the Bills did last year. And you constantly said, hey, you always want, coaches will say it time and time again, you want to be playing your best football at the end of the year. The Texans aren't playing good football, and they're 3-1. And the Bills played 3 perfect games and 1 stinker. So if I'm not ready, again, I'm not ready to cast off the Texans because they're dealing with some injuries, because they will get healthy. And I think their offense will get more dynamic and more explosive over time with health.
Yeah, I agree. Who's writing off the Texans?
Well, Mike's like, they're not elite right now, which I agree, but that doesn't mean they can't be.
I just said, I think when they get the running game going and get everybody out there, they can be better. I was talking about the quarterback. It is an ascension.
I see what you're saying.
These things don't all go from like, he looked really good. They won a lot of games last year. They looked good in a playoff game, and then they didn't.
It's the baseball. It's the hitter.
Yeah.
He's going to have to make adjustments. There's
and I
no
think,
question.
You know, and he's done some of that, and he's had to, I don't think he's really, he doesn't appear to be a stat guy that he's worried about that.
No.
I think there's a lot to like about him as a quarterback. A lot. He's smart, knows where to go with the ball, all those things. But we've seen Josh Allen, where he got in the playoffs. Josh did it all in one game, ironically, in Houston, where he was great. Then he was crazy. Then he brought him back. It was very Josh. He likes to get that all out of the way.
Unbelievable.
And then he was great in 20, greater in 21,
Yep.
and he's stayed at that level the whole time. So that's the progression. He didn't get elevated to that before he was ready. In fact, he got ridiculed a lot at the end of 19 as a young, crazy guy that you can't ever figure out.
Pressed all the buttons.
And then he went and put everybody away.
Double
in
coverage
20 and
into
21.
Pat DeMarco.
I think that's my issue with CJ Stroud. The narrative around him is that the talk is that he's already arrived. And while he had an incredible rookie season, this league, it's very hard to have continued success. And I think that's why sometimes I'm like, don't crown him yet. Like, he's really, really, really good, has the absolute potential to be a top 3 quarterback. But at the same point, he's not there yet. And it's okay to say he's not there. I don't think that's a diss. I just think it's him being a second-year player.
You said that much more eloquently than I have said at any point trying to explain that.
Yeah.
Agreed.
It doesn't mean he can't be, and he might be there by the end of the year. By end of year 2, you're like, it's kind of like Mahomes. Like, he got started, and you were like, wow, this guy is good. He's really good. And you're like, a little bit. I mean, he's really good.
Yeah.
So in that case, yes, Jenna, thank you. I'm going to clip that. And just when anybody asks me about Stroud, I'm just going to play Jenna talking about him.
And the matchup here is we talk about Stroud and his pieces and around him. Like, the matchup doesn't I know it sounds weird because Diggs has played so much more in the slot as his career has gone on. And Taron, I don't think Taron plays. I think Terrell Bernard plays. I'm not sure Taron was, as we record this again on Thursday, in a red non-contact jersey. He said it was just a hairline fracture. He's wearing extra padding. It's not unusual to him or new to him to wear a cast or anything like that. He said he wore a club the one year he came back. He broke his hand. So he's not, I think he's getting close. I think we all hoped that it was be for this Texans game. I don't know if it is.
You and I were at practice, happened to be this week. He just didn't look comfortable.
Agreed.
And I wondered, is that more comfortable in another week Or is this just going to be something he deals
Pain
with?
tolerance thing.
Yeah.
I was watching some of the video of him at practice, and it kind of, I don't want to say wincing, but it was like, you could tell he was kind of like, which makes sense. I mean, obviously he is injured and coming back from an injury. So yeah, that's a great question. Is it a pain tolerance thing? And that's just something he's going to deal with? Or is it like, hey, maybe in a week and a half, 2 weeks, you will be feeling better? I don't think he plays this week either. I think Terrell Bernard is out there, but I do not think.
And Ed Oliver with a hamstring.
Hate that. Cropping up in the middle of the week.
Not good. Happened at practice today on Thursday. That is never a good thing.
Now, Dion was out on Wednesday, hamstring. And a lot of times you hear hamstring, you're like, oh boy, because they're going to be cautious. It might have just been sometimes the guy's like, I felt a little discomfort. They sit him down. Yes, finish the game. Felt a little discomfort, sit him down for a day. Now, Dion was right back out there Thursday, so that's a plus. But with Ed, since it happened in practice, maybe it was just precautionary. Let's see what happens on Friday and leading to the
And also haven't seen Khalil at practice, which is not good because that's one that, in my opinion, not a doctor, not in the building. The fact of that's one where you kind of get your ankle rolled up on, and then as time goes on, it swells.
It swells, and then you keep just re-injuring it. Yeah. And I've seen so many.
You were not a doctor. You did diagnose him after the game, seeing that he was in a walking boot.
Could be precautionary. A lot of times, again, you're trying to maintain the swelling.
Yeah,
that's another thing that could be just a pain tolerance, but your range and your mobility and flexibility on the ankle is limited.
Absolutely. Those cuts and stuff like that, like you're so limited.
On the plus side, he just runs into people. So he doesn't need to worry.
True.
He doesn't need to worry about going around him. He just goes through him.
You know what was something, even when he was warming up on the sidelines, and I know you were shooting the game and we were all trying to watch him, he didn't look comfortable warming up. But he is a tough dude because he went back out there to finish.
Because he's a football player.
Yes. He is a football player.
Also, Austin Johnson has not practiced this week.
Yeah.
Oblique.
Yeah, Bill's D-line is in rough shape. No Vaughn. Also, where's your boy?
Greg Rousseau. Yeah, he needs to do more. Got off to a good start.
Who did you pick? I picked Rasul, so he hasn't done.
I think I picked Taryn to be their defensive MVP.
Yeah.
Okay.
Greg Rousseau's great at getting after the quarterback, but you can't be... If you're not going to get 12 sacks and be that elite, you need to be able to help with the run game.
I think Rousseau usually does help with the run game. I think he's good at usually setting the edge. They all got blown up against Baltimore. I think Rousseau's been good. He's certainly been the better of I think they need more out of AJ. They need more out of...
No, they need more out of Daquan. Daquan and Ed having 0 tackles.
Yeah.
In a game where it was going to be, and you knew it was going to be a man whooping another man and smash mouth football. That was shocking. And Sean talks about it this week of how do you fix the running game? Because they have been gashed against against the Cardinals. They were against the Dolphins, and then it was fully exploited against the Ravens. And he talked about it's a mentality.
Yeah.
That to me perks my ears up. When a coach is calling out how you're mentally preparing for a game, that's as much as, saying there's business decisions being made. When Antonio Pierce is like, guys made business decisions. You got to be able to answer that.
Yeah. Roy Collins agreeing with you, says Daquan and Ed Oliver have been no-shows. Well, they certainly were in that game. Not been a great start to the year for Daquan in general. Ed's made some plays. I mean, Ed is also paid like the guy who's supposed to make it. Daquan is a good player in that role, but they're going to need more.
Well, go ahead.
I don't want to make the insult. What? So far this year, Ed and Greg have been the Gabe Davises of the defense.
But Gabe wasn't that highly paid.
Right. But the fact of...
No, I'm saying like it's almost like more...
Right, the lack of consistency.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
It's great when you make the back-to-back 2 plays against Miami. And those were awesome plays. But there's got to be more consistency from that D-line. It has to be a constant mentality of a man whooping another man and having some of that grit and sandpaper there in the middle. And again, I know they added somebody was asking me today, do you think the Bills make the move for Devontae Adams? But I said, they need beef in the middle of their D-line. Last year, they signed Linval Joseph to try and add some size.
Yeah.
Because Daquan is big, but he's not as big as some of the other defensive tackles. Philadelphia, prime example. Like, you need some size. And with Ed being more of a penetrator than a guy that can take on double teams. They need to find something to fix this running game defense. Terrell Bernard will help that. Absolutely.
He helps everything.
Right.
But yeah.
Does Dwayne Carter get more snaps?
I mean, he looked good in mop-up time.
Yeah.
I mean, the Bills did. Now, not that I'm expecting this to be like a world-changing thing, but the Bills did sign defensive tackle Zion Luge, 6'6", 325 this week. So that, look, again, well, I don't even know. We'll see. But you're right. I mean, you talked to Seth Payne, who is from Western New York area, played football at Victor High School, then went on to play in the NFL. He now covers the Texans. And you kind of asked him that mentality. He was a defensive lineman of like, when you get beat up from the run game, what that feels like after a loss like that.
You get a chance, you can listen to the interview. Seth was great.
It's really good. Yeah.
He talks about playing for Tom Coughlin when he was with Jacksonville, when he said he was his Tom Coughlinist of his career.
Yeah.
And he would just light guys up. But he also talked about what it does to a player, especially on the defensive line, when you get run on in a game. And he joked and said, I think they should take testosterone levels of players before the drive and after the drive, because after the drive, you're like just beaten up. And we've heard Chris Long on his podcast just talk about it.
Chris Long said that if a team goes down the field offensively and they complete 9 of 10 passes and go 75 yards, you go to the sidelines like, we'll get them next time. It was just a fluke. We'll get them next time. When they run the ball down your throat, you go back to the sidelines, and he said, we got no answer. Like what are we going to do? Like, that's the mentality that Sean's talking about.
Because you never really feel like you're getting fooled by the run game. Now, I'm seeing a lot of comments here talking about the scheme and what they're doing. There are things you can do defensively, certainly on the defensive line.
But the Bills tried that. They put a third linebacker out there.
They did, yeah.
And they don't like to. But nobody's Taron Johnson, where you can keep him on the field all the time. They tried with the 3 linebackers. I don't like them playing a 4-3. I don't think it's their strength. I think, well, certainly if Taron Johnson's healthy, their strength is to play the nickel and have him out there. But I don't think they have. Now, you tell me at a point, if Bernard and Milano were healthy, and now you put Dorian Williams out there as the third linebacker, maybe that's a different thing that you would do. But that's going to be a while before Milano's back.
My one thing, you say mentality, Dan. Like sometimes, because we're in the building for practices, sometimes you can kind of pick up on a vibe of like how the players are feeling, if they seem like very, upbeat or very agitated or very like, hey guys, we got to lock in all this stuff. Can you describe kind of the vibe that was at practice? Because sometimes after a loss, things are kind of like low.
Well, yeah, or it's the immediate response back of let's bring energy. Like, hey,
yeah,
it's fine.
There's sometimes where that doesn't. You go into the building expecting that, and you're kind of like, seems very pedestrian.
Like, I loved Josh's press conference after the Baltimore game, just pretty much saying, hey, look, we got punched in the mouth. They had urgency. We didn't. They were the better team. It happens. I don't know. Wednesday, Mike, when we were up there, kind of quiet.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's partly because Shakir wasn't out there. Dion wasn't practicing. Like, you had guys kind of mulling around.
Yeah.
It wasn't a ton of energy. Again, I'm not reading into anything more than that. But there has to be, this is the way that things go in the NFL. Like you talk about all the time, you're humbled or about to be humbled.
Yep.
You win or you
it's
panic. Like that's just kind of how this goes. So I think that when Josh said a loss like this, I'd rather have it earlier in the year. I'd rather never have my teeth kicked in.
Right.
But I do think there is that sense of you lost the game. Film studies different. Vaughn has talked about that earlier in the year before he was suspended, about the fact of how do you handle the success? And it's easy to get blown out by 30 points, have coaches light into you, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, like we got to step it up. It's a lot different when you're 3-0, everything's great, you're blowing teams out, then to respond.
I don't think it's a bad thing to get blown out.
I'd rather not.
No, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think you can get fooled by, Babbage says losing is the teacher. You don't learn as much when you win.
I agree.
You get beat this badly, it gets everybody's attention. There are times you lose, tight game, guy missed a field goal, whatever it is. It's easy. Yes, there's still film study. That film study had to be pretty tough for that, especially
great,
the
Bob.
defense to sit through.
Mm.
I mean, it's not just the 87-yard touchdown. The next 2 drives, they walked down the field.
Yep.
They just did. So they got beaten up in that game. When I say it's not a terrible thing, this team just doesn't do that. It had been 3 years since they got blown out.
But I think the Chiefs never get blown out, Mike.
Yeah. That was one of the first comments when we said that. And I'm like, dude, look at the Raiders-Chiefs game. Christmas Day.
In Kansas
and they
City.
ran for like 250 yards against them.
Yeah.
Ran it right down their throats. It does happen. I do think.
Sorry, I'm laughing at that comment from Christopher D'Amato. Mike is beautiful and made the Hall of Fame before Tom Brady.
And I haven't had any work done.
Although people are saying the camera is blurry on you. So
Is it again? It's what it
Mike's got a
happens.
filter on. So
Yeah.
I'm
I wish
kidding.
I
He
did.
does
That's
not.
the.
Is it really blurry?
That's what people are saying. Yeah. It doesn't look blurry.
You know
to
what?
us,
It looks blurry on the 3 shot. That's kind of strange. Should I move?
I don't.
It's fine.
I
I
don't
don't.
know.
It doesn't matter.
All right.
It doesn't matter.
Eh.
Picks.
No, I want to talk about Nico Collins.
Yeah.
Go
I
off.
feel like, well, no, I just feel like if you are kind of like locked in on the Bills, not paying attention to other teams, or you're kind of like, oh yeah, who's that guy? Nico Collins has been exceptional this season. You mentioned it earlier in the broadcast.
Yeah.
In terms of receiving yards, I think he has 489 receiving yards this season. That's 100 more than any other receiver in the league. He's on pace for 2,000 receiving yards.
He's had over 100 in every game but one. I think 3 of the 4 games.
Yeah, he's averaging 122.3 yards per game.
Yeah. That's a lot of yards. And he is a physical player. He's big. He can
6'4".
run. Yeah.
Pretty good.
He's their guy.
He makes
But-
CJ Stroud look really good.
The Bills against top receivers.
Yeah. I went back to the last 23 games. And we'll pause here for a second. Guess how many 100-yard receivers the Bills have allowed over the last 23 games dating back to week 1 of last year. And let's put that into perspective. They faced Tyreek Hill 3 times. They have faced Mike Evans, Jamar Chase, Garrett Wilson, A.J. Brown, CeeDee Lamb, and they have allowed 3 in the last 23 games.
And
The
it's
Bill-
funny. It was not it's 2 of those teams. It wasn't the number 1 guy. It was really the number 2 guy.
Right. T. Higgins,
And
Devonta Smith.
So that's more the 2s on those teams.
correct. And then the other game was when Calvin Ridley went off in London, and that was mainly against Kyer Elam. So that was a game Christian Benford
Got hurt.
I think he got hurt in that
Yeah.
game, and Rasul Douglas wasn't on the team.
Milano
So-
got hurt.
Yep.
Like
and Daquan.
yes,
That
that's
was
true.
a
That was a
Awful
terrible.
trip.
Yeah.
So they don't really get beat by wide receivers. Now they get gashed on the ground. Like that's part of maybe some of the issues with the Sean McDermott defense or the personnel, but they really have been able to shut down teams' number 1 wide receivers over the last year and 4 days.
Jenna, I
games.
laugh because Dan is right. I think if you're playing this
Don't
defense,
say that.
well, he's right. If you're playing a defense, you give up something. You don't stop everything in
Correct.
the NFL. The Bills are content to give
Yes.
up running yards.
Yes.
They are not content to get blasted on the ground like what the Ravens did to them. So there's giving up yards like they did in the Miami game.
Yep.
Go ahead, Echan. Get your 8
Go
yards,
ahead.
whatever.
Go
Go ahead. Go ahead. Just do that because we're going to stop everything else, which they did.
Mhm.
So there's that mix. Now, we'll see for Sunday because, this is where, too, you have to realize if they play Houston and the Bills do a good job with the defense against this team, Joe Mixon's going to be he's been for a small portion of the year when he's played, he's been really good for them. They'll get him back. It may not be Sunday.
Correct.
Like, the impact Mixon can have on a good team. We've seen it. So that's why you can't you look back at games sometimes and you go, wow, the Bills were really good in this game. Well, the offense for the Texans will be better with a pronounced running game. They will put Stroud under center. They will run effective play action. I think they're going to try to spread the Bills out a little bit in this game. I would think that would be their guess, especially if they can't run it.
Yeah. Cam Lewis is, to me, not just stopping the run, whether it is Cam Akers or Damian Pierce. Cam Lewis is going to be that guy. And that leads me to the point of a conversation we wanted to have in the sports office, and Mike threw the brakes on it and wanted it to be just for the pod.
Okay.
So obviously, I loved this was good about First Take, about the fact of Dan Orlovsky called it an ego game. And about the fact that this is a big ego game, not a revenge game for Stefon Diggs, to prove he's still that guy and that he wanted out of Buffalo, and this is it. If I'm Josh Allen, why are you laughing?
No, I'm just laughing because, like, in girl terms, it'd be like if you go to the same wedding and you like, that is fun.
Go
like
on.
you like, no, like you're like, I want to look hotter. if I'm being honest, if this is a safe space, this is a trust tree, you'd be like, I want to look better than the other person.
Oh, I thought you were going to say, I want to look better than the bride.
No.
A little bit.
No, that's her day. But like,
this is a little bit about seeing your ex-girlfriend.
Yeah, I
this
genuinely think it is.
Okay, so in my case there, I said, I think if I'm Josh Allen and I'm the leader, I think I would go up to Rasul Douglas and Christian Benford and say, hey, make a statement. Like, he wanted out. He didn't want to be a part of us anymore. Show him how good we are as a team. And to do that, you guys are going to have to be massive, massive players. This is a big game. Michael?
No, I'm going to let Jenna go next.
I'm trying to think. We talk about what you would do or what Josh Allen would do.
What I would do and what I would think Josh should do.
You think Josh should go up to his guys?
I think he absolutely should. If you're the leader of the team, I know it's a defensive side. I know Josh doesn't face Stefon Diggs. But to send the message, I have no problem with him talking to defensive players about the magnitude of this game.
Do you feel like that's because he wants to send the message of like, you wanted to leave Buffalo and we've got a good thing going?
Yeah, you wanted to leave Buffalo and what you left was better. The ex-girlfriend that you're showing, look at how hot my new boyfriend is. Like, we're going to show him what he's missing. I like the thought of him stepping up as the leader to say, it's just one game, all those things. Yeah. But even Rasul Douglas said earlier this week, Diggs is going to have more juice this week than a regular game.
Absolutely.
I think the Bills defense, I think Rasul and Benford should also have more juice to go up against their former teammate who didn't want to be a part of this anymore and shut him down.
I think Josh would say that without singling out Rasul and Benford.
Who's going to cover him?
I mean, I'm saying to the team, I think I would say, we all want to be here right now. And let's think of that. Like, there are people that didn't want to be a part of this. Let's show them wrong. Like, I don't think I would be like, hey, Christian. I think I would just be like,
I don't think he would say, hey, Christian.
But you're saying going up to them directly, those two players, Christian Benford and Rasul Douglas. I don't think Allen would do that.
0.0 chance. Blutarski that it's Animal House.
Okay.
That Josh Allen ever does that. The only way that would be the case is if he pumps up the defense every week, goes and says things to them, because there's no way Josh Allen is going to make this personal about Stefon Diggs to his defense. It's bigger to beat the Jets next week. If you say to the team how big this is, because first of all, breaking news here, Steph was pretty popular with his teammates.
Yeah.
They liked
That's
him.
also true. Him and DeMar Hamlin are very close. Like,
he was popular with a lot of the players, and they know who he is. Do they want to shut him down? Absolutely. But for Josh to go, that would seem kind of petty and kind of self-serving. I don't think.
I agree.
No way he does that.
I love this comment from Walter S. Nothing says we've moved on like playing like we've moved on. I love that.
Yeah.
But you line up against this guy. Football is man versus man. It is winning individual battles.
Now, if
competitive
Josh,
and personal.
If Josh tries to push a button by going, Diggs, what Diggs is going to try to do to you guys, like pushing it that way.
That to me is
not the same as saying.
It's not the same as, hey, I need you
to shut him down. No.
Whatever the message is.
No, see that now you're twisting the narrative. What you were saying was that specific message to those two players.
It's important to me.
I didn't say a specific message. And I didn't say me. I said he left us.
Yeah, but he left Josh.
He left the team.
He left the quarterback.
I don't think to sit there and say it's petty.
It is.
Welcome to the NFL.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be
Welcome
petty.
to the NFL when somebody says you get bulletin board material and people make stuff up
they do
to
it.
inner motivate themselves.
Yes.
This is a game where you sit there and say, this guy over here should motivate
Now,
the hell out
if
of
he
you.
says it to the room, but I don't think he's going to single out Diggs in that case. First of all, Diggs.
I wouldn't say it to the room. I'd say to the two guys that are going to go one-on-one
if he's trying to,
with Stefon Diggs.
If he's trying to push their buttons, it might be like, Diggs is going to be talking trash. He wants to get him that way. That's different than he left us.
I completely agree.
Yeah, that's not Josh.
I
don't think that's
I
him.
feel like I would handle it the same way if I were Josh. I would say to the team and essentially saying like, hey, we all believe and know what we have here. Not everyone wants to be a part of that. Good, leave them over there.
What's he say? What's the phrase? It's we're all we want. We're all we need. We're all we need.
Yeah.
It'd be more of that. It would be from the positive side of,
and then
you guys want to be here. We're here together.
And then I might say like to a Rasul or something. I wouldn't say like, hey, I need this, you need this, like whatever. I would be like kind of the passive aggressive.
Yeah, a
little bit passive aggressive of like,
because you're at the wedding.
Yeah. Be like, oh, I love your shoes.
The fact that, like you say, like
they're hideous.
It's petty or things like that. I think football is extremely personal. I think the relationships that they have make this game different than the other ones. I'm not talking about
Bob Babbage went to those guys and said something like that, it comes out differently than Josh Allen saying,
what?
You want to challenge him to beat Nico Collins? That's a different story. Nico Collins is their number one guy. Go stop him. When it's about Diggs,
I honestly think it's beneath him.
Yeah.
I do. I think that it would be beneath Josh to do that.
Joe says passive petty.
Passive petty.
Yeah.
I do. I feel like that is beneath, because then it's like it means, yeah.
Yeah. Sandra says it's already in the atmosphere. Nothing needs to be said.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with Sandra.
I'd say line, but I can't
move on and act like it. TR.
Okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
Again, when you're not playing him, you're playing him this week. And we joked around about it, and it's half a joke, half serious. Diggs would rather have 150 yards and 2 touchdowns than the Texans win.
I
think you're right.
We all agreed.
I think that's true.
So I don't mean to put anybody on blast.
No. I think it's an ego game. I think it was Orlovsky said it's an ego game for Diggs.
Yeah.
He wants to get back at the Bills. He wants to look great. I think Josh is looking for the win.
He wants to look hot.
He does.
Don't we all?
Look hot. All right. But, yes, we need to talk about the pregame before we get to credit to me, because we have credit to me.
Someone says money jar, Dan. Did you say something?
I'm sure he did. You might as well throw 2 in there because you know you did. So these guys are the photographers on the field. When they allow me, I like to be down there, but they send the old guys upstairs. But no, they've changed a lot of those things.
Runs upstairs.
You guys are down on the field.
Are you good as he's running away?
Hey, I do help carry stuff. So you'll be down there, and we know what it's like pregame. Players come out. Explain just briefly the sort of the way most players enter the field, they leave, they come back, how it goes, Dan.
Yeah, about 2 hours before the game, they have their pregame warm-ups, it's their warm-ups. It's not even the pregame. They're out on the field with shorts and a shirt, and they're just running
routes. Usually.
Yeah, they're just warming. There's handshakes with former teammates. Josh, usually, like I said, whether it's Aaron Rodgers or Joe Burrow, they sit there and they talk. It's just them pretty much getting loose. They go back in the tunnel, in the locker room. They come back with their pads on. That's when you see them run out of the field. That's when you see Josh break the huddle, and that kind of goes from there.
At that point, it's way more team to team. The only contact you usually would see is when they go out for the coin flip.
And a lot of former teammates, when they see them, when they're in their shorts and shirts, it's just, hey, man, great to see you. How's the family?
Because you're greeting them as a guy or a coach.
It's very casual as opposed to warm-ups that are very structured.
So on Sunday, Diggs will be out there. This is before they're playing catch with the fans and all. They'll do that later. Mm-hmm. Diggs will be out there. Josh will be out there. So the game, let's go by Eastern time. It's a 1:00 game. It's noon in Houston. So what time is there a meetup, and how do you expect it to happen?
What do you think? 11?
Let's pick a time. Let's see who's the closest.
I said 11:07 would be the over-under.
They usually see. I'm really bad with the timing stuff. Usually they go out for warm-ups at 12:01.
So that's official warm-ups. So usually
No, I know I'm counting back from there.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out well, no. I felt like you were mansplaining to me how they warm up. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to go 11-11.
Oh, perfect time.
that never happens.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Okay. I am going to go, you said 11:07?
Yeah.
I'm going to go 11:06.
Oh, wow. Okay.
His price is right.
That's it. I'd have to be lower because I'd be over.
Josh is going to be, you can see it now, he's going to be at midfield.
Here's what he's going to have. He's going to do this.
He's going to be wearing the white long sleeve, right?
That's like a little big on him.
And he's going to have the headphones
Although
on.
it's going to be like, I know it's a dome in Houston, but it's going to be like 93 degrees out.
Outside.
So maybe, I know, but I'm saying maybe he won't wear a long sleeve to warm up.
So who's the buffer guy?
Case Keenum.
Yeah.
It's perfect. He's a vibes guy.
He's
everything.
chatting it up with Case, asking him how the family is, all of those things. Diggs approaches, and the over-under of their interaction has to be 15 seconds.
No, I feel like it's got to be longer than that.
Not much.
It's got to be longer than that.
Then it's phony.
If there's three
it's
people,
it's all going to be
if
phony,
there's-
in my opinion.
if there's three people, it goes a little longer.
That's true.
It can be a little longer. Three people talking, because then at that point, the quarterbacks talk. He's there, blah, blah, blah. It's the quick handshake. Hey, how's it going? It's a conversation for 15, 20 seconds, whatever. Next thing you know, dap it up, back out there. Whole thing, certainly less than a minute.
It has to be longer than the coin toss handshake we've talked about.
The coin toss
is just a, hey, how are you?
Yeah.
But it's got to be longer than that, but it's got to be shorter than him catching up with Gabe, him running over to see Poyer, things like that. Because otherwise, that's totally phony.
I think it's about a minute long, the whole interaction.
I'm saying
That's too long of a clip for the NFL social media.
yeah.
Like
So keep it under a
gonna be-
minute,
yeah.
Josh. We're going to ask you this.
Yeah.
And
And for
also-
TikTok shorts or for YouTube shorts.
I would be very surprised if there's anything post game. It's very different. Quarterback goes to quarterback. That's
Dion will find Diggs.
Yes.
It could be.
Dion will 100%
Other guys,
find.
other players
Yep.
will, but Josh will have
DeMar,
already talked
obviously.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sandra L. King or I King. You know the camera guy is going to be all over them.
Oh, yeah.
I'm hoping that's me.
Yeah.
I'm hoping I am getting that
KG
video.
says it'll
We
be a
can't be-
dap. Of
yeah.
course it will be.
We
Yep.
can't be on the field inside the white lines. NFL social media can be
Right
wherever they
there.
are. They can be hugging Josh for all that
Yeah.
matters.
Yeah.
Game picks?
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. KG, the fake bro hug.
It'll be a dap.
Yeah. Oh, it starts with the bro hug, then it's a dap.
I
Bro
feel like
hug-
it's a dap and then a bro hug.
well, they
Isn't that
part,
normally?
They part in that way where you part with the dap as you're walking away. So
There
it's
is
obvious.
nothing like seeing a guy execute a dap. Like I'm
Clean.
always impressed.
Yeah.
I'm always like, damn, I don't think I got the
I,
coordination.
I
for
take
that.
it they don't go back to one of their old handshakes.
Someone asked that.
Oh,
if-
that would be.
Nah.
could you imagine?
Oh, yeah. It was Alice that said that. Yeah.
I
Nope.
would be shocked.
No, it's not happening. Diggs jumps on Josh's back just like the picture
That
from
is
Ralph Wilson.
funny.
Yeah. Sports Illustrated for kids, right?
Sports Illustrated for okay, yeah, picks. I'm just gonna rip off the band-aid.
Josh should tackle him.
Josh,
You better hope the Bills defense tackles him in the
yes.
game. All right.
All right, I have been flipped, flopped all over the. I don't know, but on our pregame show, I picked the Texans.
I mean, it's easy to pick the Texans in this game. This is a tight game.
I know. I'm very worried about the Khalil Shakir injury and then the Ed Oliver one popping up. And I just feel like Balin Spector will, I don't know. I don't know about Terrell Bernard. I do think Terrell Bernard plays, but I don't know about Taron Johnson. And I just feel like this game means a lot for Diggs and it means a lot for the Bills, but I don't know. I don't know, Jim. Someone says, what the F, Jenna?
Yeah.
I know.
Oh, trust me. I read the comments last week when I picked the Ravens.
Yeah.
Take
I'm
it.
also like Dan is now up he's
He's a
4-0
game up
in
on us.
his So scared money don't make money.
So you've got the Texans winning.
24-21.
Yeah, I have the Bills winning at 27-24. I like this Texans team. I don't think the Bills are at their best. I don't think the Texans are at their best. I think it's going to be one of those games. I like the Bills offense to bounce back in this game. I think Brady will get back to what he likes a little bit better. I think the Bills are better against a passing team than a running team. I think that ends up being where I go through. I'm worried about the kicker because they have Fairburn, who's a better kicker than the Bills do. But I'm going to say 27-24 Bills.
I will take the first. Our next segment will be credit to me. I will take the credit right now. I picked the Ravens. I was worried about the running game. It was fully exposed in this one. The Texans, I don't think are going to have their top 2 running backs. I think it's going to be Cam Akers. I'm not worried about them running the ball down the Bills' throat. I don't know if Khalil Shakir plays, but I think that helps Brady get back to doing what he does best and runs the ball.
Yeah, someone had asked, what's Curtis Samuel's role? Curtis Samuel's role this week will be the slot guy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see if he can excel in a role he's had
that's
at
true.
other times in the league.
That's fair.
So yeah, I have the Bills in this one. I was interrupted.
Hold on. Give me a coin. Nice toss. Man.
Yeah, I was interrupted.
Okay.
I was taking a small victory lap.
Yes, well, we know.
Yeah.
And you were interrupted. How does that feel?
But I said that too. I said when I picked the Ravens last week, I was going to pick the Bills against the Texans.
Yes.
Nothing about that has changed. I think Terrell Bernard drastically improves the Bills' defense. I really like them to bounce back. Brady gets back to doing his thing. Bills win 26-20. Bass misses an extra point.
Ooh.
Kendrick says no trick plays for the love of God. That is funny.
Yep. Well, if they do one, it's got to be better than the last 2 they've tried.
Yeah.
Which is that mess from Baltimore.
Josh caught a touchdown pass in Houston.
Yeah. Well, they also tried
God.
the DeMar Hamlin
Flipped over.
fake
Yeah,
punt.
I remember that. Right at the pylon.
How'd that work out?
That was when Brian Daboll was in his bag. We gotta get Joe Brady back in his bag.
Yeah.
He brought the bag. I saw him bring the bag in.
Yeah. He just needs to
That
get
tweet
back.
didn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
That one didn't age well.
Yeah, no.
First time that's ever happened.
What's your Shohei Ohtani? What is your credit to me?
All right. So credit to me. This is it's a little personal, but I think you'll get what I'm talking about. When Allen and Diggs, it's different than it is with Poyer and other players that leave for different reasons. Allen and Diggs were a team. You saw the yard signs. You could vote for him for president. Allen and Diggs in 2020, all that kind of stuff that went on. They were together. They're not. It's like a breakup. It is emotional in a certain way. And credit to me, I think I've been, so at one point in my life, I was married, not married, now married.
Yeah.
Jenny.
Again.
Yeah.
When you first break up, and it doesn't even have to be a marriage, you know what happens. You are constantly asked about the circumstances, about the other person. It feels like it won't stop. You have to react a certain way. So Josh has been asked about it. In my life, I felt like every 2 minutes I got asked, how are you doing, with the tilted head? And you know that if you've been through it. And I was fine, and asked about your ex all the time. And part of you, if you're a good person, and I'd like to think I am, I wanted them to do well. But in the beginning, maybe not so well, right? You just were sort of like, you wanted it to be good. As it has gone on, she's awesome, doing great, everything's great, has been. But the beginning is kind of funny. But credit to me, I think I handled it about as well as you could. And so did she. So if she was on the pod, she would get credit to her. But that's not the case. With Diggs and Allen, especially Josh, he's laughed it off. He's joked it. He's whatever, almost like it's not a big deal. We're already past it. You'll get past it after Sunday. It'll really go in the rearview mirror for a while. Yeah, there'll be talks about the receivers and everything, but it's not the same unless they meet again in the playoffs and whatever else happens. But you got to hang in there, Josh. Credit to you. The rearview mirror is coming.
So you wanted to look hotter at the wedding?
Yes. That didn't work. No.
No.
But,
okay.
What the hell?
Credit to you. My credit to me is I figured out how to buy stuff from Amazon without paying.
Wow. Very impressive. How'd you do it?
Because I didn't realize that my fiance's card was attached to the auto pay. So I've been buying a lot of stuff on Amazon and no money has been being taken out of my account because it's being taken out of his account. So credit to me because free stuff is cool.
Did you think you were doing well with money?
Yeah, like I thought, I checked my bank account because I'm going to get paid tomorrow. And I was like, okay, like obviously everyone wants to get paid, but I was like, oh, okay. And then he's like, yeah, you know why? And I was like, no, I don't. And he's like, that's because all that money is he's like, that's because I have 5 purchases from Amazon on my card. And I was like, oh,
So
whoops.
Did you send him the money?
No, I feel like I can't Venmo him like 100. I don't know. I will buy groceries for the next 2 weeks. It's fine. Whatever. He actually just texted me. That's funny. I was also thinking about another credit to me.
KG says, hope he signs a prenup.
Maybe. That's a quick way to have an ex-fiance. I didn't know it wasn't that much money.
Danielle. I'm sorry. Is that Danielle? Bradley? Sorry. Damn girl.
Damn girl. Oh yeah, Daniel Bradley. Damn girl. LOL free money. Jenna, so I'm not a thief. I'm not a thief. Someone paid.
That is true.
Yes.
Amazon got their money.
Amazon always gets their
got
money.
Zach's money.
Yeah, they always get their money. I was thinking about this though. Maybe credit to me going back to Houston. First time since Kelvin Benjamin and everything blew up with that.
Yeah.
If you weren't following the team then or myself, it was before the game against the Texans in 2018.
Yep.
Josh's rookie season. I reported that Kelvin Benjamin didn't want to run routes. It was a big thing. It was a huge thing. And Kelvin Benjamin, no longer in the league. So.
Yeah. Bills weren't happy. And then they realized the real problem was Kelvin Benjamin, a biscuit short of being a tight end, out of the league. Bye-bye, Kelvin.
Yeah. Booger buried Kelvin Benjamin.
Yes.
Credit to me. I do some radio hits back here in Rochester on the mornings after Bills games, and the timing has worked out the last few times that I've been going through TSA PreCheck. And I was going through this time, sitting there, TSA Pre, and we're going through snaking through the line, and I'm have my AirPods in, and I'm talking as a normal person talks at an airport.
He's a little loud, isn't he?
And
you guys both are.
And the woman in front of me turns around and in the middle of me talking goes, "Excuse me, you are being so loud.
Wow.
Can you be quiet?"
What time is this?
9 a.m.
Oh, okay.
To the point that my only response was, "Okay." And then it was clear enough that they heard it on the radio. And then I whispered for about the next 20 minutes on the interview. And it was one of those things, and they were laughing. But I couldn't really go off on the person of we're not in a library. TSA's yelling. Airplanes are landing around us outside this building. And the fact is that I then had to walk behind this woman for another 7 minutes.
KG says credit to that woman, which is good. And where am I seeing this? I saw another comment.
Kendrick says, "Don't worry, Dan, she's useless."
That's a great comment.
Steven says, "Did you have a giant man purse?"
I did. The man purse is great for travel. So that was one of the things where I literally just didn't know what to do. But I thought credit to me for not telling that woman that she was useless and not pulling a Catalana line.
Yes. And this was asked, was it the Rochester airport? No, this was on our way back.
Yeah, BWI.
This was BWI.
Is this one of those things where like later on in the shower, you're thinking of all the things you could have said to her? Where you're like,
100%.
I could have said that.
Yeah,
Like,
100%.
Yeah.
Because they were like, well, you should tell that woman off. And I was like, but I got to walk behind her for like another 7 minutes. So this is kind of awkward.
I'm not built like that. I don't blame
and then
you.
it's like, we get to where you put your phone in, everything through it. And the woman in front of me goes, another woman, because then you break off into the line. And the person goes, "Were you talking on the radio?" Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. Apparently pretty loudly. Apparently it's pretty loud. So
Daniel Bradley saying TSA PreCheck worth every penny.
Worth every penny. I just got I'm new to the club.
No, tell the story because
Dan wouldn't sign up for TSA PreCheck. Now I have to give him this. So I got him a gift card to pay for TSA PreCheck for Christmas, right?
Yes.
Was it Christmas? And he got it. The first time we used it,
wasn't open.
It was bad. No, we went, remember?
Oh, the machine
we waited
broke.
Longer than everybody else. And I just saw a friend of the pod, Ross Tucker, tweet out. He was flying to a game and he's like, 14 people in the line for TSA PreCheck and 2 people in the regular line. Pretty soon, everybody's going to be on pre-check.
Yep.
Got to go clear, got to go one way or the other. But I will say, usually it's pretty good. Global entry and TSAP, Kendrick
TSA
have the
pre-check.
same thing.
Yeah.
Jenna's
we have
got
that.
it too.
Yeah.
Dan doesn't. That's why we had the problem
Man
at the
purse.
border.
Great story, though.
Yeah.
Great story.
I also put in a toilet. My wife wanted a new toilet in the powder room.
It was lost.
Yep. Also
You
credit to me.
installed a toilet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I thought you put the man purse in the toilet.
No.
Just put a toilet in the middle of the living room.
Crappy job. Crappy job.
Is that a pun?
Yep. It's one of those things you watch a YouTube
Oh
video
my
and somebody's
God.
like, "You got it."
Hold
And
on.
It's always harder than it
Oh,
is.
yeah.
Shane. So let me get this straight. From being high at work to ankle bracelets and now theft. Jenna the menace.
Okay. Not high.
Not an ankle
Not
bracelet.
an ankle bracelet.
And
The stupid freaking
sort of theft.
armband.
Theft from her own fiance.
Yeah. That's fine. I'll buy groceries. It's fine.
That's it.
Oh my God. You got a toilet, honey?
Yep.
Proud of you.
That's it.
Changed from oblong to circular. That was the big move.
Wow, that's way too much detail.
Okay. All right. I would not be a criminal in my other life, guys. Okay. We're going to be in Houston, Mike and I.
Yes.
So, we'll have plenty more updates. 5 players to watch. Dan's best bets on Friday.
Yep.
Please be sure to like. I love psyching you guys up. To like, comment, subscribe, and share. We always want to make sure that you share with someone who's a Bills fan. You know, get the word
You
out
could
about
do it
Buffalo
like
Plus.
Josh does win on 3, where he just says
Yeah.
something and then he quickly says, win on 3, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, and
that's
then
how
everyone
they
says,
break
"I
it.
love you, Josh Allen," which they do. All right, thank you so much for joining us here on the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel, presented by Connors and Ferris. We will see you next time down in Houston. We'll see you on Saturday. Thanks, guys.